Welcome to Threads of Truth, a podcast where real-life mysteries meet internet speculation. Today's story is about a young woman who vanished in broad daylight, and a case full of more questions than clues. Imagine for a moment, you're looking at your window on a quiet Sunday afternoon. You see your child, a vibrant young adult, backing her car out of the driveway, seemingly on just a quick, mundane errand. You hear the engine hum, maybe the crunch of gravel as the tires turn, and then, well, the sound fades into the distance. It's a familiar scene, right? Sort of comforting routine. But then, nothing. She never comes back. How does someone just seemingly vanish into thin air after driving away from their own home, basically in full view of the world? It's a truly baffling thought, an unsettling question that haunts countless families. And tragically, that's exactly what happened to Phoenix Coldon. Phoenix was a remarkable 23-year-old woman from Spanish Lake, Missouri. That's a suburb just north of St. Louis, described by everyone who knew her as bright, incredibly athletic, and immensely gifted musically. She really epitomized potential. She wasn't just bright. She was actually a fencing champion, a talented musician who played several instruments, and a dedicated junior at the University of Missouri, St. Louis. She was pursuing a degree in elementary education. Phoenix lived at home with her parents, Goldia and Lawrence Coldon, who were known to be deeply religious and, well, notably strict. From an outsider's perspective, her life appeared to be a carefully structured one, full of promise, guided by strong family values, and pointing towards a seemingly bright future.
And that seemingly bright, well-ordered future is precisely what makes her sudden disappearance so profoundly perplexing, both for her family and for investigators. We've gone incredibly deep into the sources for this case, pulling from police reports, family interviews, and also the extensive online discussions that have kept her story alive for, well, over a decade now. What we've uncovered are layers of information that start with the initial baffling facts around her last known movements. But then things quickly pivot to some truly surprising and deeply personal discoveries made by her own family after she vanished. So this deep dive will explore not just the twists and turns of a genuinely confounding case, but also, the inherent complexities of human identity and the challenges faced when a public persona conceals a private, hidden life. It's a story where the known facts, they really only scratch the surface, and where every answer seems to lead to even more questions, leaving us with a mystery that has lingered unresolved for far too long.
Okay, so let's pinpoint the exact moment this mystery began. It was Sunday, December 18th, 2011, in St. Louis County, Missouri. For Phoenix and her family, it was a typical Sunday, steeped in their routine. They had just returned home from church, which was, a central pillar of their deeply religious life. By all accounts, the day unfolded like any other, seemingly completely normal. There wasn't an argument, no visible distress, no indication at all that this ordinary Sunday would become the date etched into the Coldon family's memory as the day their world just changed forever.
That sense of normalcy makes the moments that followed even more jarring. Her father, Lawrence Coldon, he was the last person in the family to see Phoenix. Around 3 p.m. that afternoon, he watched as she backed her mother's black 1998 Chevy Blazer out of their driveway. Now, what her family immediately noted, and what really stands out as a crucial detail early on, is that Phoenix didn't tell her parents where she was going. For a young woman who, according to her parents, rarely deviated from their established routines, and certainly didn't keep significant secrets about her whereabouts, this was described as incredibly out of character.
Right, that feels significant.
It wasn't just a casual oversight, it was a definite departure from her norm, a subtle signal that, well, in hindsight, became incredibly significant. Her parents, having just seen her, assumed she was simply running a quick errand, maybe to a nearby store or a friend's house, and would be back soon. They heard the front door close, the engine fade, thought nothing more of it at that exact moment.
And here's where the narrative shifts, dramatically, almost like violently, from mundane routine to this unsettling mystery. Just 3 short hours after Phoenix drove away from her home, at precisely 5:27 p.m., her car was found abandoned. The speed with which this seemingly innocent Sunday afternoon went from her leaving to an abandoned vehicle with her missing. It's truly jarring. Immediately raises red flags.
Absolutely. And the details surrounding the car's discovery are not just crucial, they're deeply unsettling. And they immediately complicated the investigation right from the start. The vehicle was located at the intersection of 9th Street and St. Clair Avenue in East St. Louis, Illinois.
Okay, Illinois. So across the river.
Exactly. To give you a sense of the geography, that's a significant distance, maybe about a 25-minute drive from her home in Spanish Lake. And crucially, yes, it's across state lines. East St. Louis, historically, it has a reputation for being a high crime area, which immediately fueled concerns about foul play.
Right.
Now, the car's condition at the scene was also a source of immediate confusion. This was due to conflicting initial police reports. Some reports stated the engine was still running with the driver's side door open. That suggests a very sudden, perhaps forced departure.
Like someone was pulled out.
Exactly. That scenario paints that picture. But other reports claim the engine was off, which could suggest maybe a more deliberate, if still abrupt, abandonment. These conflicting details right at the very outset, they highlight an immediate challenge. The initial processing of the scene was just unclear, creating this foundational ambiguity that would persist throughout the case.
What about inside the car? What did they find?
Well, the keys to the vehicle were gone, and Phoenix herself was, of course, missing. Yet inside the car, investigators found several key personal items: her purse, her shoes, her glasses, and a cell phone bill.
Okay, purse, shoes, glasses, but the bill, not the phone itself.
Correct. The cell phone itself was conspicuously missing from the scene. This combination of items left behind, essential things like her purse and glasses and items taken, her cell phone, it creates an incredibly perplexing picture.
Yeah, that doesn't quite track.
Right. Why would someone planning to disappear voluntarily leave behind essential ID and personal items they'd undoubtedly need?
You'd need your glasses, your ID.
Definitely. Conversely, if it was an abduction, why would her shoes be left in the vehicle? That specific mix of items immediately complicated any simple explanation. It threw investigators into this frustrating paradox right from the start.
Okay, this leads us to what I think is one of the most critical and, frankly, just infuriating failures in the initial response, the communication breakdown between jurisdictions. Her mother, Goldia, did what any worried parent would do. When Phoenix didn't return home that night or the next day, December 19th, 2011, Goldia immediately reported her daughter missing to the St. Louis County Police.
And this is where the jurisdictional miscommunication truly impacted those crucial early stages. Despite Goldia reporting Phoenix missing in Missouri, the family wasn't officially notified that their vehicle had been found abandoned in Illinois just hours after she disappeared.
Hours, but you said.
It wasn't days. It was weeks later when a family friend who was actively helping them search for Phoenix happened to spot the distinctive black Blazer in an impound lot over in East St. Louis, Illinois.
Weeks. Oh my God, that's unbelievable.
Think about the devastating implications of that. A young woman reported missing in one state. The primary piece of evidence, her vehicle, is discovered and impounded in another state without the initial investigating police department or, more critically, the family being immediately informed.
All that time.
This massive, weeks-long delay in connecting the missing persons report with the abandoned vehicle meant that crucial early hours and days, often considered the most vital for any missing persons investigation, were catastrophically lost.
Can you explain what gets lost in that time? Why are those first hours so critical?
Absolutely. In the first 48 to 72 hours, law enforcement is looking for really time-sensitive evidence. Things like recent phone pings that can pinpoint exact locations, maybe ATM withdrawals showing financial activity, or fresh witness sightings that quickly fade from memory. They need to establish a precise timeline right away.
Yeah.
Preserve any physical evidence from the scene, the car, in this case, which can degrade or get contaminated, and immediately get the word out nationally through alerts or missing person networks. So when a car is found in one state and the person is reported missing in another, and those dots aren't connected for weeks, it's like two halves of a critical puzzle just sitting there, not realizing they belong together. Digital footprints, too, call logs, texts, social media activity. Phone carriers don't keep that stuff forever. Every hour lost could mean a crucial lead just vanishes.
Wow.
It's not just a procedural hiccup. It's a fundamental blow to the entire investigative foundation. It significantly reduces the chances of a swift resolution. Because of this whole mess, Phoenix had no official missing persons report filed in Illinois until much later. That impacted how seriously and swiftly the case could be escalated and, resources allocated across state lines.
So we have this baffling scene. A car abandoned in a high crime area, across state lines, conflicting reports about its condition. Crucial items like a person ID left behind, but a phone taken. It just screams questions. Was she rushed? Was it deliberate? Was it staged? These initial facts, just standing alone, are perplexing enough. But just when her family felt like they were hitting dead ends, something emerged. Something that didn't just complicate the case. It completely turned their understanding of Phoenix, and maybe even themselves, on its head. This is where the story takes a truly unexpected and deeply personal turn, revealing a life no one in her immediate circle knew existed. Okay, let's really unpack this.
Indeed, this is the pivotal turning point. And it completely reframes how you might view Phoenix's disappearance. Her parents, in their desperate, agonizing search for answers, stumbled upon what can only be described as a profound secret life Phoenix had been leading. For a young woman from such a deeply religious, strict household where family and faith were paramount, these discoveries were undoubtedly shocking, heartbreaking, and profoundly disorienting for them.
I can only imagine.
It forced them to confront the reality that the daughter they thought they knew so intimately had this other existence completely hidden from them. So let's delve into the intricate details of this secret life. First, and maybe most significant, was the revelation of a secret boyfriend. It was discovered that Phoenix had, at some point, actually been living with this boyfriend, a fact her deeply religious and strict parents were entirely unaware of.
Wow, living with him without them knowing.
Exactly. That alone suggests a level of independence, right?
Yeah.
A desire to carve out her own space, make choices that were clearly at odds with her family's expectations and their closely guarded values. What made this even more critical was the discovery, through painstaking analysis of phone records, that Phoenix had been communicating with his boyfriend on the very day she disappeared, December 18th.
The day she vanished. But didn't he say
Yes. This contradicted his initial claims to investigators that he hadn't spoken to her that day, which raised immediate serious questions about his honesty, his knowledge of her plans, or perhaps even his direct involvement. It left a huge gap between what he said and the phone records.
Okay, so the secret boyfriend. What else?
Then there was the discovery of a second cell phone.
A second phone.
Yep. Her parents knew absolutely nothing about this device. It was reportedly the phone she used to communicate with people outside of her family's immediate social and religious circle. This is a clear indicator of a deliberate choice to maintain a separate identity, a hidden network of relationships.
So like a double life.
It paints a vivid picture of Phoenix actively segmenting her life, living this double life where she navigated different aspects of her identity and desires completely apart from her family's world. It implies a young woman trying to reconcile her upbringing with her own, burgeoning autonomy, finding alternative ways for connection and self-expression that she felt she couldn't openly share with her parents.
That seems incredibly stressful.
Immensely so, one would imagine. And perhaps the most poignant and certainly the most debated piece of evidence from this period is a cryptic selfie video Phoenix made shortly before her disappearance. In this video, she is seen praying the Serenity Prayer. You know the one. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change.
Courage to change the things I can and wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah, exactly. And even more striking, in the video, she explicitly states she wished she could start over.
Start over. Wow.
This video, which was later shared publicly, immediately became a key piece of evidence. But it's interpreted radically differently by people supporting foul play versus running away theories. For some, it's a desperate cry for help, a sign of profound emotional distress or internal turmoil, maybe hinting at deep unhappiness she couldn't articulate. For others, it's seen as a clear, explicit indication of a desire to escape her current circumstances, to leave her life behind and begin anew, shedding the pressure she felt.
So could mean anything, really.
It's a piece of evidence that definitely reveals her inner world, but it offers no definitive answer, only more questions about her state of mind right before she disappeared.
It's absolutely heartbreaking to think about the emotional, and you mentioned financial toll this entire ordeal took on Phoenix's family, not only grappling with the unimaginable pain of a missing child, a parent's worst nightmare, but simultaneously being hit with the shock of discovering this intricate hidden life. The sources report a truly devastating consequence. They apparently lost their family home to foreclosure.
That's right. It was reportedly a direct result of spending their life savings on private investigators, continuous search efforts, just desperate attempts to find answers where official channels seemed to be falling short or moving too slowly.
That just adds another layer of profound tragedy to this ongoing, agonizing mystery. It illustrates the immense personal sacrifice involved in searching for a missing loved one, especially when the clues only deepen the mystery. So, what does all this mean for the investigation and for our understanding of what might have happened to Phoenix?
It means that a seemingly straightforward missing persons case girl leaves home, car is found abandoned, quickly unraveled into something far more complex, deeply intertwined with the personal choices, the struggles, the hidden life of the person at its center. This duality, the public face versus the private reality, is precisely what has fueled so much public speculation. And it's made it incredibly difficult to definitively categorize what happened to Phoenix. It forces us to confront that question. How well do we really know those closest to us? How personal secrets can cast this long, confusing, ultimately tragic shadow over an investigation, blurring the lines between potential foul play and the possibility of a desperate, deliberate choice.
Right, it shifts everything.
It transforms what might have been just a police procedural into a deeply human psychological puzzle.
And speaking of public speculation, this case, like so many enduring mysteries, has found this tenacious second life, this constant pulse within online communities. In fact, the internet has played an absolutely pivotal role in keeping Phoenix's case alive and generating, well, a multitude of theories. Platforms like Reddit, YouTube, TikTok, and especially those incredibly detailed and dedicated web sleuths forums, they've been instrumental, highlighting obscure details, dissecting inconsistencies in reports, collectively pushing for answers when official channels felt slow or unresponsive.
That's absolutely true. These online communities have, in many ways, become this sort of parallel investigative force, systematically breaking down the prominent internet theories, drawing directly from publicly available info, news reports, the specific details that have emerged. They meticulously scrutinize everything.
Okay, so let's dive into those theories. What are the main ones circulating online?
All right, let's start with one of the most prominent, the foul play abduction trafficking theory. The strongest piece of supporting evidence here is the location where her car was abandoned. As we discussed, East St. Louis is known for high crime rates and has, unfortunately, been linked with trafficking activity.
So the idea is she could have been targeted there.
Exactly. The idea is she could have been a random victim abducted from a vulnerable area, maybe while trying to deal with car trouble or simply passing through. Plus, those conflicting reports about the car's condition, engine running, door open that suggests a sudden, maybe unwilling departure. That lends weight to this theory.
And the stuff left in the car.
Right, the fact that her purse, ID, and glasses were found inside. Proponents of this theory argue, why would someone plan to disappear voluntarily, leave behind essential items they'd absolutely need?
Good point.
It strongly suggests she didn't leave of her own free will. Now, there have also been some witness sightings mentioned online, though it's crucial to stress these are highly speculative and unconfirmed by law enforcement.
Like what kind of sightings?
Claims of seeing her on a flight out of Las Vegas or with a strange man. These fuel the sex trafficking narrative. But again, they were never substantiated. They add a chilling dimension, but lack solid proof. The main argument against this theory often circles back to her secret life, suggesting other possible motives for her disappearance.
Okay, so that's foul play. What's the alternative?
Then we have the voluntary disappearance theory. This suggests Phoenix chose to leave, to start a new life, deliberately disappearing. The primary supporting evidence for this comes directly from uncovering her secret life. The boyfriend her family didn't know about, that second cell phone she used for a hidden social circle.
Right, the double life aspect.
Exactly. All of this strongly suggests she might have been unhappy or felt intensely pressured by her family's strict religious environment. She seemed to be building a life separate from the one her parents envisioned, a life of autonomy, maybe even rebellion.
And the video.
The key piece of evidence for this theory, the one endlessly debated online, is that selfie video, where she prayed the Serenity Prayer and, crucially, said she wished she could start over. For those who believe she left voluntarily, this is interpreted as a clear, profound expression of her desire to escape her current circumstances and begin anew.
So they think she planned it.
Some even speculate that leaving her car in a high-crime area could have been a deliberate, calculated act, a way to mislead investigators, make them think foul play, while she staged her own disappearance to ensure no one looked for her in the right places.
That's elaborate.
It suggests a high degree of planning, yes, and maybe a desperate need for freedom. The counter-argument here, of course, is, again, why leave the ID, the glasses, those essential items?
Just doesn't quite fit. Okay, any other major theories?
There's a third one, though it's generally less widely accepted. The mental health or crisis suicide theory. This theory stems from the idea that the emotional turmoil implied by her double life, the potential immense pressure from her family, and that cryptic message in her selfie video. Maybe it all points to a significant mental health crisis, or, tragically, a desire to end her life. The strain of maintaining two separate identities, living that kind of negotiated life between expectation and desire, could have been immense, leading to profound distress. While there's no formal diagnosis, online discussions often highlight the start-over video as a potential cry for help or a signal of overwhelming despair.
Oh, why isn't this one as widely accepted?
For a crucial reason. Nobody has ever been found. And there was no suicide note discovered. Without any physical evidence to support it, it remains largely speculative. Though the possibility of profound internal distress, well, that seems evident from her own words and the pressures of her concealed life.
What's so striking about Phoenix's case is just the sheer complexity of these competing narratives. It's a true testament to how the exact same pieces of evidence can be interpreted in vastly different ways, depending on the lens you view them through or the angle an online sleuth takes. It leaves the case suspended in this perpetual state of agonizing uncertainty. No definitive answer for Phoenix's family or for the public that continues to follow her story.
Absolutely.
It really highlights the immense challenges of missing persons cases, especially when personal secrets, fragmented clues, and systemic breakdowns all intertwine to create such a confounding mystery. It's a case where the truth feels tantalizingly close, yet perpetually out of reach.
Indeed. And the case of Phoenix Coldon offers a profound insight into the complexity of double lives. It really forces us to confront that fundamental question. How well do we ever truly know someone, even those closest to us? Phoenix's story exemplifies how personal secrets, once revealed, can cast this long, often confusing, and deeply painful shadow over an investigation. It intertwines potential foul play with the very real possibility of a deliberate choice to disappear. Her hidden relationships, her second phone, that cryptic video message. They don't just add facts. They compel us to consider that the person we think we know might be living an entirely different, perhaps desperate reality.
Right. It adds that whole psychological layer.
Exactly, which complicates the search for physical evidence immensely.
And this case also starkly spotlights the critical challenges posed by those jurisdictional delays we talked about.
Yes.
That initial miscommunication car found across state lines weeks before the family knew. It undeniably hindered the crucial early stages. It's not just bureaucracy. It's a devastating loss of time and opportunity. Those first few hours and days, as you explained, they're paramount for gathering fresh evidence. And a breakdown between agencies in different states can severely impede progress.
It absolutely can.
What's fascinating and frankly heartbreaking here is how such a seemingly procedural detail can have such a devastating long-term impact on a family's ability to find answers and on the case's whole trajectory. It's a systemic issue Phoenix's case really brings into sharp focus.
And we must also acknowledge the sensitive but necessary discussion around how race, gender, and media attention potentially shape the public response here. The Coldon family, particularly her mother, Goldia, has been very vocal in their belief that Phoenix's case did not receive the immediate or sustained attention it deserved from law enforcement or national media, specifically because Phoenix is a Black woman. This perspective, it's widely discussed within missing persons advocacy circles. It raises important questions about disparities in media coverage, the missing white woman syndrome, as it's sometimes called, contrasting the attention given to cases involving white women versus women of color. The family's impassioned pleas for more visibility and resources were a constant, heart-wrenching theme throughout the early years. It highlights a systemic concern that continues to be debated. And just to be clear, we are simply reporting on the family's stated viewpoint here, conveying the ideas from the source material.
Right. Despite those initial challenges and the perceived lack of mainstream attention, we absolutely have to acknowledge the vital and ongoing role of media and internet communities in keeping this case alive. Specifically, Oxygen's docuseries The Disappearance of Phoenix Coldon, which aired back in 2018, was instrumental.
Hugely instrumental.
It reignited public interest and, crucially, introduced many of those lesser-known details, the secret life, the family's struggles to a much wider national audience. It brought renewed hope, renewed scrutiny, and reminded everyone that Phoenix Coldon was still missing.
And that momentum has largely been sustained by the ongoing internet sleuthing efforts. Across various dedicated online forums like Web Sleuths, through persistent TikTok awareness campaigns, within active Reddit threads. These online communities have consistently kept the case active and in the public consciousness, even now, more than a decade later. They meticulously dissect new information, share theories, scrutinize old reports, and passionately advocate for answers. It demonstrates the powerful, if sometimes chaotic, role of citizen investigators in unsolved mysteries today.
It's quite amazing, actually.
This decentralized collective effort ensures that Phoenix's story and all the questions surrounding it refuse to fade into obscurity.
So, bringing it all back to the core mystery that began on that quiet Sunday afternoon. Can this case still be solved? Is there enough information out there? Perhaps a critical missing piece, an overlooked fragment of evidence, a witness who finally decides to speak, maybe even a confession that could at long last provide answers to Phoenix's family. They've endured so much pain and uncertainty for so long.
The hope is always there. It has to be. Kept alive by those who refuse to let Phoenix Coldon be forgotten.
What would you do if your child vanished, but no one treated it like a real emergency and the clues only led to more questions about the life they were leading?
It's a question that weighs heavily on the hearts of so many families with missing loved ones. A nightmare scenario that Phoenix Coldon's case truly exemplifies. Her story is a stark reminder of the enduring impact these cold cases have, not just on the immediate family, but on our collective understanding of justice, identity, and why it's so incredibly important to keep their stories alive.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. If you found Phoenix's story compelling, please share it and help support families of the missing. Next time on Threads of Truth, we go back to 1957 and explore one of America's oldest unsolved child mysteries, the heartbreaking case of the unidentified boy in the box. Who was he, and why has no one come forward even now?